Greetings and welcome back to Dallas Discount Reef. So today we are going to talk about aquarium placement, and this is kind of a simple and easy thing. However, I know a lot of people that set up tanks, and then after they'd had the tank for a while, like a year, or like something happened, then they were pretty much of the opinion that they put the tank in the wrong space, and I would have enjoyed it a lot more. And the perfect example of that, and this is kind of what I wanted to share because we've got a couple freshwater and the 105 and then the coral farm and the, farming in the trays, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with it. But if you're having a reef tank that you want people to come in and be able to see and enjoy, John, sorry, dude, that happened actually, and we'll talk about this more. But he bought a Hygger, Hyggger, the Chinese brand, off that company called Emblem. And long story short is it ended up just staying stuck on and melted down to where the element was in the water and it was steaming, and it was just a bad situation. So ended up just taking the tank down. They've been traveling. And the one thing that he said that really stuck with me that I wanted to share, one was, that sucks. And, we talked about redundancies, but in terms of this podcast, placement, he's like, man, I wish this was in the middle of his living room because it's a nice spot in his house, right in his office by the desk, et cetera, et cetera. But was like, dude, it's just in the wrong spot. I could have enjoyed it a hell of a lot more if it was in the middle of the living room where everybody could see, and you're more prone to take care of it if it's something you see and enjoy more. So if it's in a spot that's more visible, you're more likely to take care of it. You are going to enjoy it more. And also, this is a family thing. Like, the reef tank's not just for me. It's something everybody enjoys. Like, my son's like feeding the fish, the coral, finding a crab, where's the urchin at, all these type of things. It's a great thing that you can do with your kids, especially now. I mean, there's certain chemicals and things may be involved depending upon what you're doing or dosing, but you can keep that away or teach them how to do that appropriately. But in terms of, placement, put your tank out somewhere in front, in a living room, or, we've got the 105 here is like in the sunroom, so you can see it from the living room, the desk, the sunroom. It's in a very public spot. And that's going to be just kind of a key thing. I mean, the other things to think about when you're talking about placement, a lot of people like natural sunlight, this and that and the other. Dude, don't worry about if the tank gets natural sunlight. I have one of the tanks that has done the best of any tank that I've ever taken care of. It's south facing in front of a wall of windows, and it gets sunlight 3-4 hours a day probably when we have the long summer days, and that tank does fantastically. And it's not overly dirty either because we maintain the nutrient levels in that tank. And we've got a kick and sump running with it, so most of our algae grows down in the sump. And, that's kind of what you do. If you get it in there, keep it clean. Make sure the pumps stay clean so the flow's going well. We don't have any dead spots, and not an issue at all. So that's kind of a myth that you may come across. But natural sunlight is, corals do well. Nothing beats natural sunlight. So again, if you can, great. If you can't, don't worry about it. But the other thing about placement is taking a look at making sure you can have space to just get in even a little bit around the tank. Like, I've seen tanks kind of set back in little alcoves, and that's totally fine. But you want to make sure you have enough to where you can make a fist and get it by the side of the tank, so you can get back there to get something, or I drop the fish net, or, you want to clean that side glass with the mag cleaner, not having to get in every time. So there are certain ththings like that, but definitely get it out in front. The other thing about it is making sure you have access to get into the tank itself. So especially for like tank beginners and new people, yes, or if you're a shorter person, like making sure that you can get your hand down to the bottom of the tank or nearly there. Because it stinks. I mean, like, I love the 105 here. And, we're taking the sand bed out and getting it cleaned up because we're just going to redo that whole tank. So, I've got long arms, but that's tough to have a grabber to get down to the bottom. But in this instance, doing tank overhaul, I got to get on the stool, kind of get up in there and lean over, and then I can reach down to the bottom of the tank easily. But, one of my nicknames is Stretch Armstrong because I got really long reach, so I can just get in there into tanks that most people can't. So, and looking at that, like, that's one of the reasons, like, the 70-gallon and 90-gallon sizes are great because it's a big enough tank, but it's also easy enough to get into. So, consider that when you're looking at a tank as well, is if you're going to be doing the maintenance yourself, you need to be able to functionally be able to get in there and do maintenance and pick things up, or knock my frag rock over for the third time today, missing around, anything like that. So, placement, keep it out in public. The other thing is just if you're going to have it on, different types of floors or surfaces like that, accommodate for that. Make sure there's a gap if it's on a wood floor, so it's lifted up off the floor a little bit. So if you do spill some water, you can stick a towel under there, laid flat, or you can put a fan in front of it, because those things are going to happen, and that's one of those things planning too. That is, make sure you have like a water barrier if you're going to be on a wood floor or carpet, things that are going to be more difficult to clean up water. So when you set that up and you're in the planning stage of your tank and you're talking about placement, you can look at that. The other thing that a lot of people want to consider is the availability of where the sump's going to go. A lot of people put it underneath the tank. If you can't necessarily do that, putting it behind the tank. I've seen some cool setups where there was a closet behind the aquarium, so you're able to keep all your stuff that you need to clean the tank and all that underneath the tank, and had extra room, auto top off, whatever. And then inside that closet on the other side of the wall, they had their sump and everything in there, so you could totally get into it, super easy to clean and take care of. So there's a lot that goes into it, but just remember, like, you're putting up, if it's a reef tank especially, you're putting up a showpiece in your house, so you'll be more motivated to take care of it, and you'll enjoy it a lot more if it's in, a public upfront spot. So, just kind of food for thought, and I wanted to share that with you because that was the first thing that John had said to me when he's like, dude, we're just going to take it down to snot in the right spot, heater issues and traveling and things like that. So something to keep in mind for y'all. Hope that maybe makes a difference for you. Like and subscribe. We got more content coming for you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.